Being poor didn't stop my parents from spoiling my younger brother Pedro rotten. You see, Pedro was a genius. By the time he was 8 months old, he could say his alphabet and count to 100. By the time he was 2, he was doing mathematical equations and solving puzzles. Our baby is a genius.
He's going to make us so proud.
And what am I? Chopped liver? On my 5th birthday, instead of the princess house with the car and pool I wanted, Mom stitched me a doll from old clothes. We just don't have the money, sweetie. But Pedro received a brand new remote control car. Sweetie, we had to get Pedro something as well. That wasn't even the worst of it. Pedro was allowed to go to school, and I wasn't. My parents said it was because Pedro had a special gift. So they used all the money they had to send him to a private school for gifted children, and they couldn't even afford books for me to go to a public school. Life was so unfair. I felt so invisible. The only time my parents saw me was when they wanted me to do some chore around the house. Over time, I just got used to it, and since I couldn't read books to myself, or I didn't have a phone to watch videos, I started to sew to pass my time. Camellia, what did you do to my curtains? I fell in love with creating new things from old stuff, and I wanted to become a fashion designer. Because of how differently my parents treated Pedro and me, we never grew up close, and he always saw me as his slave, even though I was older than he was.
Clip my toenails, clean my shoes.
When I was 11, I begged my parents to send me to a sewing school. Mom, Dad, I deserve to be able to follow my dreams too.
They don't have the money to send you to some stupid sewing school when they're going to send me to the most prestigious college in the country.
I'm sorry, Camilla, but we have to support the child who has greater potential and will make the family proud.
With that, Mom and Dad just walked away as Pedro stood there with a stupid smirk on his face. Oh, I wanted to smack him hard. It was then that I decided I'd do whatever it took to get myself into a sewing school. I tried to get a job, but nobody wanted to hire an 11-year-old, not even as a clown for a birthday party. When I was 13, things looked as though they were turning around, and I finally landed a babysitting job. But when my parents found out that I'd been neglecting household chores because of it, they were furious. I was grounded for 2 months, and Dad tore up all my designs that I had stuck on my bedroom walls over the years. I was devastated, but a tiny part of me refused to give up. I had to be smart. This time, when I drew, I hid my drawings under the floorboards of my bed, and when Mom sent me to the supermarket, I'd pass by the wishing fountain and take all the coins. Don't give me that judgmental look. But after 3 years of saving those coins, it still wasn't enough. Over the next 2 months, I worked endlessly to create the most beautiful ball gown known to man. I needed to get into this school. I had something to prove to myself. A few nights before the submission of my dress, while at Sophia's, I saw Pedro enter her parents' bedroom. I snuck up to the door and peeked through the crack. I watched in shock as Pedro was stuffing his pockets with jewelry. Pedro, what on earth are you doing? Pedro gave me one look and jumped through the window like a frog. Sophia and her parents had been too good to me to let Pedro get away with this. I ran home, but when I opened the door, the confrontation did an Uno reverse on me. Dad glared at me as he was holding a necklace in his hand.
Camellia, why was this in your dresser?
As if on cue, Pedro walked into the room to examine the necklace.
Wait, isn't that Sophia's mother's?
You should know, since you stole it.
Pedro told us that he saw you take this.
I didn't steal anything. It was Pedro.
I just don't understand where we went wrong with you.
Me? Pedro's the one who got kicked out of school. Genius my butt.
We also found cash hidden under the floorboards. Where did you steal that from?
I froze. How did they? My eyes met Pedro's, and an evil glint flashed over his eyes. That's my money. I earned it.
Stop lying, Camellia!
I think it's time to teach little Miss Fashionista a lesson that she will never forget. Pedro, bring the dress.
Dress? What dress? The words stuck in my throat when I saw Pedro return with my submission dress. I watched in horror as Mom lit the fireplace and took the dress from Pedro. Mom, please, don't!
You will learn your place in this family, Camellia.
My mother threw my dress in the fireplace, and it lit up quicker than a barbecue on Independence Day. I tried to get it out, but Dad and Pedro held me back as I kicked and screamed. After a while, my dress was nothing but ashes. As an avalanche of tears ran down my face, I knew that my time in this family was up. I wanted to attack my parents and Pedro.